Hey guys, this is Comic Uno, and today I'm doing Comic Uno's Best Comics of the Week, and this week I'm starting to get more comics. So, last week I think I had 6, this week I have 7, and I think next week I have like 9 comics. So, starting to get back up there for the pull list, which is a nice thing to see. Now, before I do get started with this review, I do want to announce that my Kickstarter for Like Father, Like Daughter, my comic book that I write, is officially launched, and there's some really great stuff over there, variant covers and catch-ups for the book. The trade is up there as well, and the book's about a high school girl. Father left her to become a full-time superhero. Everyone in the world loves him except for her, and then she inherits his abilities. And I hope you guys could go check it out. Even if you just donate $1, you get 8 digital comics, indie comic books. So I think that's a pretty cool bundle, and you get to check out some awesome books. Now, jumping into this week's review, let's get started. Now, of course, we go least favorite to best pick of the week, and number 7 for me this week was Birds of Prey issue 1. So this book has been in limbo for a while, even before COVID. You know, this was supposed to come out, I feel like, a year ago, or at least when the movie came out. So I think the movie came out a couple of months ago. I don't know. Time is flying by, honestly. But yeah, around that time, I think that was the second time the book was supposed to come out, and it's been rescheduled ever since, and finally this book is out. It is part of the DC Black Label, and you also have the other Birds of Prey Harley Quinn book that's part of the DC Black Label. And with this one, it's a one-shot, so it's one full story. It's not connecting to a mini-series or ongoing series, and I just couldn't get into this one. I just feel like at this point, DC doesn't really know what to do with the Birds of Prey now that the movie kind of looks a bit different from what the comic franchise was. And they're really trying to relive the comic franchise, but at the same time trying to garner the fans that they've gotten from the movie. And I just don't feel like it works, especially that Harley's on the team. It just doesn't mesh well for me. And honestly, I just couldn't get into the story. I couldn't get into the ensemble, which is obviously so important for Birds of Prey. And definitely the reason you would want to read the book. And I think the harmful thing is that, or the reason, I won't say harmful, but the reason I couldn't get into it is because the team doesn't know each other yet, right? Every single time they start these stories, just like, all right, I know you, Harley, you're kind of a bad guy, I guess we have to team up. And every single Birds of Prey story has started that way, where we're like, okay, I guess we're going to team up. And one thing that's nice about the Birds of Prey comic is that all those people, Oracle and Black Canary and Huntress, they were friends already. So we got to see adventures of their growing friendship. And every single time you start at first mission, it kind of gets boring after a while. So I just didn't really feel the chemistry. The artwork was really good for the book, but I don't think this was worth $9. It's also just really, really long. It's 100 pages, and I just couldn't get into this one. So I gave that actually 1.5 stars, and that is number 7. Moving on to number 6, a book I was actually looking forward to, but also another very pricey book this week, and that is Buffy Every Generation issue 1. Honestly, this book kind of confused me at points. So the opening story, you know, I guess they're dealing with the After the Hellmouth story arc that they've been doing. Cordelia's more involved for some reason, which I like. I love Cordelia. She's literally my favorite TV character of all time. But I didn't really quite understand how her friendship has grown with Buffy. It looks like, I honestly couldn't tell from the artwork. So they make like I thought like a more of a Joss Whedon-esque dialogue where Buffy says, yeah, and my girlfriend over here wants to take your job, Giles. And then like later on, I don't know if they're flashbacks or flash forwards, we get to see, I think, Cordelia and Buffy kissing. So I'm like, oh, that's awesome. It'd be cool to see that relationship, but I just didn't see it coming. I don't even know if that was Buffy or Cordelia. I just couldn't tell from the artwork, and I just was kind of confused with a lot of the flash forwards and flashbacks and what direction the book is going in, because obviously there's been different stories in Angel, and then you have Buffy, and then you have the Hellmouth story arc. I think it's just kind of all over the place, and it doesn't really feel very linear. And then Of course, the story introduces more Slayers. I'm like, well, how's this all connected to the story? I just think that they're doing too much world building at this point where I'm like, no, focus on the characters. If Buffy and Cordelia are together, let me see that. Who are those two girls kissing? I want to know the character arcs before we get into all this world building and throwing so many stories at you at once. So I think it's more of that. This book just felt super crowded. I think there's definitely cool potential for different storylines, but it just kind of confused me, honestly. And, you know, maybe that was on the artwork where, again, I just couldn't distinct the characters very well, or it was from the script as well. So I gave that 2 stars. Obviously going to continue to read Buffy, but I don't know if this is worth a $9 price tag as well for a very pricey week. Moving on to number 5, which I believe this is like kind of slid into the solicits, and that is Shazam issue 12, which is this kind of random team up between Shazam, or, you know, Captain Marvel / Billy, and Batman. And it's a fun issue. That's it. It's a fun one-shot. The artwork is really good. Probably the best artwork we've seen of the series thus far, especially since it was one consistent artist, which was nice. And it's just Billy saying, hey, I have some sucky villains. Let me go to Gotham. And then he realizes, okay, these villains are like super hard. And he kind of teams up with Batman. And it was a cute issue. Is it a necessary pick? I don't think so. But it was fun if you've been reading Shazam, and it's a pretty good filler issue if you've been liking the series. But I would like to see what direction this book is going, especially since I believe Jeff Johns is ending his arc soon, and we're getting another creative team. But again, because of COVID, I don't know what direction the book is going or when it's going. So moving on to number 4 for me, and that is Catwoman 80th Anniversary. Now, if you're a hardcore Catwoman fan, I think you're going to really enjoy this. There's some fun stories in there, and also, obviously, some meaningful creators telling the stories. We have, like, Paul Dini. We actually have the new writer for Catwoman on here. So, a pretty well-rounded cast of creators, and even Tom King writes a story, and I think it showed different facets of Catwoman pretty well. It had a couple of stories about Bruce and Catwoman, couple of her stories having the Steel stuff, some of the grittier stuff in there as well, so I enjoyed it. The stories that kind of stood out to me, I liked the Comic-Con story. I thought that was pretty good to see the change of artwork where she was like kind of being manipulated, or there was a machine making her see this this idea of a Comic-Con. And then the artwork and coloring shifted to this gritty artwork. I thought that was cool. I actually really enjoyed the Tom King story too. It's this Elseworld story of Catwoman having a kid and having a daughter and what that means. And a very classic form of how Tom King has told his Catwoman Batman stories. And I enjoyed that one. So overall, is this a necessary pickup? I don't think so. There's nothing mind-blowing about the 80th anniversary, except maybe if you want to read that Tom King story. But I enjoyed the issue. I thought it was pretty good, and there's some pretty good short stories overall, good artwork. Is it worth the price, though? That's going to be up to you guys, again, of how hardcore of a Catwoman fan you are. I don't think this is going to make you a Catwoman fan, but if you're already that fan, you'll probably appreciate it. Moving on to number 3, which is Sabrina the Teenage Witch Something Wicked issue 1. And I've been waiting for this one for a while. I enjoyed that first mini-series, and it left us on some pretty good cliffhangers where Sabrina is kind of dating 2 guys. She's trying to figure out if, I think Ram is the other love interest, and Harvey between them, and they're very different. One's more in the magical world, and obviously Harvey's just a mortal, and she's trying to figure that out as she delves a little deeper in her own magic, and definitely not make a friend, but one of her frenemies in school is part of this magic world as well, and doesn't want to be this creature anymore, and Sabrina is helping her out because she's gonna be, I think if I remember correctly, I think she was like being blackmailed or whatever, that she's like, oh, I'll tell everyone you're a witch if you don't help me out. I don't remember. It's been a while since I've read that issue. But I enjoyed the dynamic between them because we get to see the high school antics with the magic, and I think it grounds it pretty well. And the drama is really good here because Sabrina is using her abilities to try to figure out how her frenemy got to become this creature, and the cliffhanger is that the ants are the ones who cast the spell, and we have to find out why. So I thought that was pretty good. I think this is some of Veronica Fish's and the Fishes in general best work we've seen. I really love the inking and the style for this book. And yeah, it's just classic Archie drama, high school, with a new twist on Sabrina too that I think leans a little bit heavier on the Chilling Adventures TV show, but still has that fun energy that we all know and love. And it's a really fun book. I definitely recommend it, and I give that 4 stars. Moving on to number 2, one of my favorite books on stands right now, and that is Red Mother. And this issue does not disappoint. Red Mother issue 5. And with this one, it's a slow burn, but that's what I kind of love about this book, is that it takes its time, and it allows us to really feel what Daisy's feeling. And Daisy's still seeing the Red Mother. That's definitely an issue, but there's some inklings of story that happen here where she's running away from Red Mother and she almost falls. And Red Mother helps her up. Like, okay, this is weird. Why does Red Mother want to help her? And even says her name, so is Red Mother on her side? And then we get to see a little bit of a darker side of Daisy, where she throws Red Mother on the tracks, and it seems like other people see this. And is Red Mother real? What's going on? And then on the forefront, she's also dealing with her boyfriend dying, or at least believing that he died, and the family has to grieve about that, and like, all right, we waited too long, let's have a service. So she's dealing with her grief as she's also trying to make the decision, do I move to London for a new job? Do I escape my problems here, really? And it's a really interesting character-driven story. It works with horror so well. The artwork is so good with small beats, like when she's running away and she rubs her eye, it just looks so good. When she's sitting in the bathroom, these small beats that you don't need words to express the feelings, and it's just such great artwork, really well done writing, good pacing. I really love this book. Go check it out. I gave that 4 stars, and that is number 2. Moving on to number 1. This is a book I've been waiting for so long to talk about. So, Death of Nancy Drew. I actually read this a couple of months ago for an interview, and I've been really excited for this book. And now that it's finally out, I can talk about it. And this was a really well done issue. So, the title is Death of Nancy Drew, and you're like, okay, well, how does Nancy Drew die? And it's actually monologued by Joe Hardy, so the Hardy Boys, or at least a part of the Hardy Boys, and he thinks that Nancy Drew was murdered. And we get a bit more of this other murder, well, I would say her own murder mystery, kind of diving deep of like, okay, who did she see before she died? And he's trying to figure it out. And in the end of the issue, the reveal is Nancy Drew isn't dead, and she faked her own death, I guess because of this connection to her father. Something happened with him, so I think he almost went to jail, so I'm guessing it's connected to that, and there's some other characters introduced in this issue as well. But yeah, so I guess Nancy Drew kind of has to figure out her own murder, and I thought that was really cool, and I like that reveal for Joe not knowing. Why didn't they tell Joe? Frank does know. So a really well done issue, and I like the kind of grittier world that they brought for Nancy Drew. I love the monologues and just the overall twist on the murder mystery and twist on the detective story, which you obviously want to see with these classic heroes, classic detectives like Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys, just having some awesome twists in this genre that's been around forever. So I really enjoyed this. I thought Joe Eisma's artwork was really well done, kind of playing on the darker stuff that he's done with the horror Archie stuff. So really well done facial expressions, and again, it's like a lot of walking, a lot of monologuing, but I think it worked for this issue a lot, and I can't wait for the next issue because that was a good cliffhanger. So I'm giving that 4.5 stars. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. That is my pick of the week, and this is Comic Uno. Of course, next week I'll have next set of reviews. Seems like there's a lot of good comics coming out, and again, at least my pull list is getting a little larger. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed. Again, hopefully that you guys could go check out my Kickstarter. I'll have that in the comments and the description below if you want to go check that out. Check out my Twitter and Facebook. Go check out my comics like Father Like Daughter and They Call Her the Dancer. And every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Time is Comic Book Weekly, where we discuss our favorite comics and comic book news. Alright guys, thanks. Bye.